We're all familiar with driver's licenses, and annual car checkups, traffic laws, and the plethora of other bureaucratic intricacies surrounding personal travel. But we shouldn't forget that for the vast majority of human history, we moved from point A to point B on horseback. Now, of course, such mundane regulations aren't well represented in the historical record. Usually the most we can attest to is horse-based transport, usually carts and wagons, being banned from entering particular streets or neighborhoods in cities. That's what our magnanimous friend Julius Caesar had promulgated in the city of Rome. During the first 10 hours of daylight each day, horse-drawn traffic wasn't allowed in, with the only exceptions being for vehicles carrying human sacrifices to the Roman pagan gods, those supplying the military, of course, and those intended for sanitation. Similar regulations have been found in other Roman cities, like Ostia and Pompeii, but they too were only concerned with where horses could tread, rather than who could use them. Even after the Roman Empire fell, things mostly stayed the same. So, many cities in medieval Europe inherited the Roman legal system, including the odd horse traffic laws. There were some innovations. For example, in the 15th century, our dear London instituted what may very well be one of the first speed limits ever, by restricting the speed of unloaded carts to that of loaded ones, under pain of paying 40 pence and maybe even prison. It is roughly around this time period that we also see the emergence of criminal laws, specifically penalizing improper horse-drawn conduct, as can be seen in this not quite photorealistic illustration. Now, while these laws remained a strictly local phenomena throughout the Middle Ages, they did spread alongside Europe's very first colonial endeavors, notably the Dutch. Already famous for their early contributions to capitalism, the Dutch also played a part in regulating horse-drawn commerce and in standardizing the size, shape, and composition of vehicles. As the Dutch expanded their empire to every corner of the earth, they brought their horse-drawn regulations with them, including to the humble city of New Amsterdam on the eastern coast of North America. It wouldn't remain Dutch for long, though, being conquered by Mother England and promptly renamed New York, in honor of the eponymous Duke and future King James II. In order to protect the newly arrived Britons from unfair competition, the New York colonial government began issuing cart licenses that restricted who was allowed to own a cart. Luckily for you, modern capitalism doesn't restrict who is allowed to start a business, and that's what our dear friends over at Odoo can help you with. Odoo is an all-in-one business management software for entrepreneurs that covers all the day-to-day needs of running a business. With over 45 easy-to-use applications, Odoo helps you manage any business offline and online, smoothly and adaptively. With Odoo, you can create a website, host it, branch out into e-commerce, sign documents, send invoices, manage inventory, direct projects, recruit personnel, and more. With over 12 million existing users, Odoo has a vibrant community you can engage with, and joining has never been easier. In fact, Odoo will give you free lifetime usage of the first application and all its dependencies that you activate. This free tier includes unlimited hosting and support and a custom domain for the first year of your website. It's a great deal, so sign up for Odoo using the link in the description and turn your business into a well-oiled machine. Now let's see. Horses certainly weren't well-oiled back in early New York, and there were quite a few restrictions on them and their owners. Prospective licensees could only own a single horse and cart, and to do it, they had to be free of debts. To verify their legitimacy, licensed cart owners had to paint their license number on their carts in red letters on a white background. Under English rule, New York's horse regulations quickly diverged from the Dutch on one important point. Since 1684, black residents were forbidden from obtaining licenses and could only work as day laborers under white teamsters. This prohibition continued throughout the 18th and 19th centuries as the U.S. manifested its destiny across North America and moved away from smaller carts towards larger wagons with 2 or even 4 horses. During this time, we also see the rise of dedicated express companies like American Express and Wells Fargo, which eventually graduated to handling money rather than cargo. These early corporations absorbed all the independent teamsters and, using their newfound influence, lobbied hard against licensing requirements. The strategy worked, and not just in America. During the second half of the 19th century, the licensing of teamsters and their horses had vanished almost completely from the Netherlands, Britain, and the US. But there were some who resisted. A last alliance of men and elves marched against the armies of Mordor. I meant the animal welfare movement, which was still young and local back in the late 1800s. It protested against the sweeping deregulation and, in some cities, found some success. The New York Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, or SPCA, was well-funded and exerted great pressure on the city's regulations, eventually restricting wagon loads and horse work hours. The SPCA also did quite a lot of good for horses themselves. In its first 20 years of existence, it rescued nearly 40,000 disabled horses from work, including over 5,000 horses that were taken off the street by equine ambulance. Ironically, the New York SPCA also became the city's biggest horse killer, since it euthanized nearly 30,000 horses that were beyond saving. But ultimately, the legal tug-of-war between teamster corporations and right activists didn't amount to much. Comprehensive nationwide licensing didn't emerge until the rise of the automobile during the early 20th century, by which point our equine friends were already on their way out, as a method of personal transport at least, though they did continue serving us faithfully in war and in peace. But anyhow, thank you, my dear friends, for watching, and a hearty thanks to all of our gracious patrons for supporting us. Make sure to leave a comment down below about which topics you want to see featured next, and stay tuned for the next quadrupedally hoofed episode of SideQuest. A horse walks into a bar. "Hey," says the barman. "Yes, please," says the horse.